My name is Jamie Piles. I joined Samaritan in December of 1996. We were homeschooling our kids, and we were already thinking outside the world's box, if you will. And I saw a little tiny classified ad about this new kind of idea I'd never heard of before. My first reaction was, that's the kind of thing that we would do, isn't it? And so I finally called the number, talked to them, and the more I asked them questions, the more I liked their answers.
Hey y'all, it's Monday. Welcome to Cross Politics on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Pastor Toby Chuck Knox on the water boy as we head into summer. Summer's coming. Can't wait. It's actually going to be 80 degrees by the end of the week here in Moscow, Idaho.
That doesn't mean anything.
It's just like I'll be sunburned by Sunday. We're actually going to be adjusting our schedule slightly for the summer. We're going to be moving to 4 shows a week. So Fridays basically are going to be taken off.
And why?
Because our new app is being released on June 1st. I'll pray that everything goes smoothly there.
Lord willing.
Lord willing.
Yeah.
There's no technology problems. And so but the cool thing is because our app's going to be more, it's going to look more like a network and function more like a Netflix, like a TV network kind of concept. And so because of that, we're going to start releasing more entertainment content, including shows like we're working on a show called This America. It's kind of a Mike Rowe, Dirty Jobs meets Christian Economy. You can go to thisamerica.tv to see more what's going on there. Pretty excited about that.
We'll play the trailer tomorrow.
We'll play the trailer this week. We're going to be working on some cooking shows. We're going to be working on a number of other kind of entertainment content. Hopefully some children's anime coming up too.
Reality show.
Yeah.
I'm just not saying a whole lot about it, but yes, a reality show.
Reality show
Centers around Gabe and his chickens.
So
How many?
Gonna be a lot of death. A lot of death.
How many of you would pay for that?
oh, man.
Send your offerings to crosspolitic.com.
And part of the reason for this is we've been wanting to kind of turn the corner and head into a network for the longest time, and we kind of do it just as God gives us money and capacity and ability. So we're changing up our summer schedule a little bit to be able to kind of make room for us to go film a lot of this stuff and produce it and post and production time that we need for all this stuff. So which means the more club members, we're turning this into pub TV. So our club members are becoming kind of the pub,
right?
Pub TV. And we're pretty excited about this because we know a lot of you guys have signed up to a club membership because you like us, you support us, you're in it with us in the fight. We want more of that too, but we also want to start bringing more value to our network and the entertainment that we bring you guys in your houses and everything. So that's kind of where we're going, and we hope
Pray for us, become a member.
Yeah.
And recognize that this summer, when you go on Friday and look for a show and there's no show, you think, oh no, Gabe and Knox are making content for the pub, and be looking for that. All right, classical Christian education has reminded us to aim education at truth, but the trivium has been used as a formula rather than a way of training students in discernment. To teach well, you must coach. Concordus Foundation is offering their 3rd annual boot camp, a faculty summit from July 11th through the 13th in Moscow, Idaho. This is a 3-day intensive teaching training where you learn to coach students using the trivium so that you can meet students at all learning levels. You can learn more today at concorduspartners.com. Come to Moscow and come hang with us, get some training, and become a better teacher. We're really grateful to have with us today our friend, Mr. Zach Lautenschlager.
He needs a theme song, and I don't have one. I need.
He's been on a number of times.
That's enough.
He does deserve a theme.
Yeah, I think you're
music.
right.
I feel like
I'll
it's like 99 bottles of beer on the wall or something like that, I don't know.
We're sorry.
Lautenschlager.
No.
I got 99 problems. Politics ain't one. Something like that. I think
Zach serves as the publisher for The Sentinel. He's a 24-year veteran of professional politics, running and working on over 200 campaigns for federal, state, and local offices. He has lobbied in Congress and over 40 state legislatures and is the past vice president of the National Association for Gun Rights. Zach, thanks for joining us on Cross Politic once more.
Thanks for the opportunity, guys. It's a pleasure to join you. And after hearing what you're working on, I'm super excited. I'm glad I was here to catch up with you guys. Apparently, to pay attention, I have to be here, which is just terrible.
That's kind of true.
That's understandable, though, because you're busy with a lot of good things. So you are working on the Sentinel, which people can find at republicsentinel.com. What is the Sentinel, and what makes it different than most news websites?
So the Sentinel presents you with both honest news and conservative commentary from insiders. This is from people who know what they're talking about. I cover politics. Dennis Sarfate, newly retired Major League Baseball player, covers American culture, some sports thrown in. We have 20 reporters who cover their areas of expertise from politics, business, and culture. But so the opportunity for Americans to once again get back to what journalism is about in the United States. There are two factors. Number one is we're honest about our perspective. Have you ever noticed that in some places there are still town newspapers called, the Muskogee Democrat or the Wichita Republican or what have you. There are still papers named for major political parties. Yeah. That's because they were being honest about their perspective. And that's why we have opinion to this day. It's so that, or an editorial or an op-ed. So you have the opportunity for the people that run the paper to voice their opinion. They're not robots. They're not automatons. They do have opinions and they're supposed to. But now we've kind of gotten to this area where it's a catch-22. Darned if you do, darned if you don't. Because on the one hand, well, of course, news says we're unbiased. It's the no spin zone, whatever it may be. But on the other hand, then they're constantly selling a subliminal and sometimes not so subliminal message. Right. That's dishonest. And so at the Sentinel, we strive to do both things well. Number one, we're open about the fact that we are not only coming from a conservative perspective, but that many of us have been involved in the culture war for the last 25 years from a Reformed Christian perspective. And number two, we strive to tell you the truth. We are going to report the news the way it is, and you are going to be able to factor for our opinion. Because that is everyone writes even news, even journalism from a perspective. At the same time, you're going to have access to our cultural commentary, political commentary, stuff from the inside, stuff that you wouldn't get most of the places. Most of the places don't have someone who is still a registered federal lobbyist, who has lobbied in 40 state legislatures, who's passed legislation in many different states, and who's run political campaigns. And so when it comes to the Hill, we have some interesting perspective. Most places don't also have a Major League Baseball player who is able to bring a unique cultural perspective. And so we're excited about it. Our flagship show is the Green Dragon Tavern, named unfortunately not for the tavern with the same name from the works of Tolkien, although they probably did share an ancestor somewhere in England. The Green Dragon Tavern is the name of the gathering place of the Sons of Liberty in Boston. It was actually owned by the Sons of Liberty. It was run by Dr. Joseph Warren. That's where Paul Revere left from to go on the ride. This is where the men gathered before the Tea Party, for example. Yeah. And it's where Samuel Adams said when the royal governor would disband the legislature, he would say, "Let us go to the Green Dragon and talk a little treason." So that's our tagline, Green Dragon Tavern, talking a little treason. You can catch it every Friday morning.
Whoa.
Hey,
you ain't slipping that in there like that. What you mean, talk a little treason?
It is a direct competitor.
What you trying to get us in trouble for?
No.
We're talking about a little treason.
We're talking about the tagline.
What
treason.
What kind of treason are y'all talking about?
So we are talking treason in the same way Samuel Adams said that, tongue in cheek. If you are willing to stand up for liberty and freedom, if you are willing to do so and to fight for liberty and freedom, then you will be labeled treasonous by tyrants. And so it is a long and loud American tradition to be unafraid of being labeled as traitors. As Patrick Henry said, if this be treason, make the most of it.
Man,
he just keeps dropping them like that.
That was really good.
I thought I had a problem with the name Christian nationalist. Now I got to get over treason.
We'll take the Christian nationalists on any day. Some of what's come out of their camp we disagree with. So
Yeah.
Zach,
that's okay.
I will get to that in a second. No, hold on. I gotta keep going down this road because I know Zach, and I'm trying to figure out of all the things you're doing, why in the world are you starting a publication or at least a journalistic site? Out of all the things you're doing in politics, you're working with getting people elected in office. Are we missing something in the knowledge base of the citizen that we need to correct? Are there not enough resources out there that we can point to that are still good news? And why do you find yourself at the helm of it all?
That's all great questions. So I find myself at the helm in what I take to be God's providence. And there certainly are other people who could do this job. But having run campaigns for 20 years, congressional campaigns, statewide campaigns, media is a big part of what you do. And personally, I'm really enjoying playing the other side. I'm getting a kick out of being the media instead of the media's target. So that part is fun. As far as the bigger picture, it's not about me. The reason America needs something like this is because there's a vacuum. There's a ton of eyeballs who are looking for good news. And, and it's not just about the audio visual. We are in that realm, but we are primarily a print publication. We have a growing number of podcasts and opportunities. There will continue to be more of those. And so we think there are good opportunities for them. But the primary thing we do is provide printed news. And there are not very many American-based publications of that nature. There's the big one that everybody thinks of. We think they do a good job on some things. We think that there's some things they can do to improve. And we think most of all that there is plenty of room in that arena for competition, which is only a good thing for everyone in a free market. When there's good, healthy competition, if we all do it right, everybody's market share grows. And that's the reason here. Americans need a place where they know they can go and look, and they're going to get not only good news, but they're going to get other good content, and they're going to get commentary on what's going on politically right now. The major fake news site that's become huge, of course, is Daily Wire. And of course, we think they do a great job. Sure, let's just say it, right? We all know who we're talking about. There are things that we differ on. I differ philosophically from all of their talking heads. But one thing that they don't have is someone who actually knows politics, someone who's done it. And so that's something that we bring.
When I started, when we started Cross Politic, I started really paying attention to journalism like I never had before. And one of the research things I came upon was that 87% of journalists are registered Democrats right now.
Yes.
Which is crazy to me. And I mean, why? I think Christians have largely abandoned a lot of the central, important, influential cultural industries, and journalism's one of them. Why has this been such a neglected discipline that we don't touch, that we don't focus on?
That's a good question. I don't know why. If you go back, it certainly is a respected vocation in American history. How many people don't like Walter Cronkite? Right? How many people would say, "Oh, I hate that guy"? But if you think about the moon landing, that's his voice. If you think about most of the rest of the things that shaped the beginning of the America that we know, that the political scene that we know today, it started in the 50s and 60s, and so. I think that I don't know why Christians have ignored this. Christians, unfortunately, in the last 50 to 75 years have ignored a lot of stuff, right? There are a lot of things that we need to do more of. We need to do better. I'm tired of watching Christian movies that are boring. And so I'm tired of paying attention to media that is mediocre. There's a lot of alternative media out there, or fake news, or whatever you want to call it, not legacy, not lamestream, that just isn't very good. And so I think that that opportunity to do truly excellent stuff is there. And we hope that by looking at republicsentinel.com, you will find that it is not only, it looks good, but that it also reads well, that it's well written, and that it presents the information in a way that that you can intake and move forward with to impact the world around you.
Zach, so as you're noting, all news, publishers are coming from a perspective. They have convictions, bias even. And while obviously before God we're required to tell the truth and be honest truth tellers, by virtue of there being just a finite amount of space on a page or a finite amount of time, you have to be selective with the stories you tell, the events you focus on. And so that's colored a certain, this heavily democratic leftist perspective. Their bias sees certain stories, certain events as the key ones that tell you what's going on in our world. What can you tell us about what the Sentinel is doing in terms of, obviously this will be somewhat, connected to you and Dennis and your guys' perspectives and personalities and preferences. I mean, obviously some of that's in play, but I mean, I guess objectively, what are some of the stories and kinds of events and stories that you think get short shrift in major media that ought to be more front and center, and things that you hope the Sentinel will help recover?
So I think that looking at what are people clicking on right now is a really good way is at least one way to look at what framing are we going after. Right now, the Sentinel is acquiring more than 1,000 new subscribers every day. Every day, 1,000 people are subscribing to the Sentinel.
Way to go.
And it has been going for a month. Yeah, we're really excited about it. We think that trend will only continue. When you see legacy media like Vice News is inches away from bankruptcy, according to internal reports. Yep. BuzzFeed is in serious trouble.
They're done.
Washington.
BuzzFeed's done.
Are they?
Wow.
Are they? They were in trouble when I looked. It was probably Saturday.
Yeah.
So that may well be. It takes us a couple of days. And BuzzFeed and Vice were. I mean, think about it. Think about how huge they were.
That's right.
Vice was valued at $6 billion. That was their gross for their value. They now can't find a buyer for $1 billion. And from reports, it doesn't say, but reading that, I come away saying that sounds like they can't find a buyer for $1 billion because they are underwater. They're upside down.
Yeah,
they owe more than that.
That's right.
And so those are serious problems. Washington Post laid off, I believe it was 7,000, but it's thousands of people just laid them off. CNN is in trouble, serious trouble. And good old Fox News can't bring their viewership back up. In fact, the most read article right now, number one in the trending spot, is Fox and Kayleigh McEnany slammed over filling Tucker's spot.
Yep.
Right.
I'm looking at it right now.
People are looking at going, we would rather read about Fox sinking than we would read Fox.
Ouch. Ouch.
Well, and you know what? We went through this and we asked, okay, why is it that Tucker can post a video from his basement, get 80,000 views, 80 million views, and Fox goes from 3 million nightly to 1.8 million nightly in Tucker's slot? Well, I think it's because Tucker understands Fox viewer better than Fox does.
Yep.
Fox doesn't understand their viewer, and Tucker. You look at all the emails that were exposed and the texts that were exposed. Tucker has his problems. I'm not a Tucker apologist. I appreciate much of what he does. But the interesting thing to me about his commentary and his discussion with the Fox higher ups and his fellow newscasters, he was constantly explaining to them, no, that's not what the viewers think. Why would you say that? Why would you do that? Mm-hmm. Why would you declare Arizona at 5 p.m. on election night? Why would you do that? There's no reason to do that. Mm-hmm. And constantly explaining to them, and then later they're like, oh yeah. So there are lots of things going on. As with anybody, as you guys know very well, you talk enough on record, and eventually you're going to say something that somebody can criticize. What? You're going to say something that in our world, it's the autistic Theo bros, right? So that's a great term, by the way, Toby. I find myself using it on a semi-regular basis.
I stole it from Michael Foster, just for credit where credit's due.
Okay. So. But in any case, you can find something to pick apart about Tucker. Sure, you can find stuff. I can find stuff that's like, yeah, he shouldn't have said that.
Right.
But ultimately, I think he understands the viewer. And so the viewers are looking at all news and going, you know what, we are really tired of being fed the same baloney. We're really tired of being told you can't believe your own eyes. We're really tired of being told you have to accept what we say over your own ability to observe the world. It's not just like conflicting reports. Now we're saying that you can't believe your own eyes. They're not chanting F Joe Biden in the bleachers over there. They're chanting "Let's go Brandon," right? So that's not a commentary on whether I should use that language. It is a statement of historical fact. That's what happened.
Right.
And so readers are looking at that. Number 2 in the trending slot is a really great opinion piece from Eric Pratt, the president of Gunners of America. Guns are not the leading cause of death among children. Great debunking right there. Number 3, and this is a story that we broke live action. Lila Rose. Live Action actually broke this just before we did, but we're reading through the UN. The UN constantly is having these extra little meetings where they publish papers and call for everyone to do things. And in this case, I'm sure you guys have seen it by now, but UN calls for legalizing pedophilia. That was about a week and a half ago.
Okay. Yeah.
Still tops number 3rd slot in all things read. So you can go down from there. What we're focusing on is bringing forward the news or the opinion and analysis pieces that give you the information that you need, that you can look at and go, you know what, I was wondering about that. I was just looking at that. Somebody said something. I saw somebody post something online about that. Where can I find real information that's verified or that gives us the information that is available out there?
That's very good.
And how can it be broken down? How can we break down? What is the UN actually calling for? What does that actually mean?
Yeah. That's really helpful. I'm going to read this plug and then Knox, you can go. We just mentioned this at the beginning of the show, but we have ourselves a very exciting summer coming up here at Cross Politic, and we want you to join us on this ride. First, as you've heard, we're no longer calling it the Fight Laugh Feast Club. It's now called The Pub. Second, we're launching a new line of content focused on family entertainment. Some of this content includes a new TV show called This America that Gabe and Knox are going to film more next week on. A cooking show, a hunting show, live streaming of our conferences, of course, our past conference talks, all bundled within our brand new polished Fight Laugh Feast app, which will be dropping, Lord willing, on June 1st. So what are you waiting for? Head over to fightlaughfeast.com and join the pub today. Go to fightlaughfeast.com and join the pub.
Hey, so Zach, you've been around the gun industry for a long time. You've worked with getting legislation passed for gun rights, or getting some removed too. So, but when seeing what happened this past weekend in Allen, Texas was an absolute nightmare. In so many levels, it was devastating. I saw more than I wanted to see. And the first thing that came to my mind was first, I prayed for the families and people that were involved, but then I was thinking, oh my goodness, there's enough going on right now to make everybody want to stop mass shootings. I don't care who you are. Nobody wants to see the carnage that we saw this past weekend. Nobody wants to see that. But the way that we go about doing it has two different offshoots. One of them is get rid of all the guns. That's it. Ban the guns. Not going down that road. The other way is, and this is my question to you, what?
Right. Well, the important thing, first of all, is to recognize that there was an incident in the Metroplex, which is what we call the FW Dallas-Fort Worth, in which more people than were killed at the Allen Mall were run over by a dude in a truck the same weekend. And we're talking within 36 hours of each other. And so I'm looking for that exact, if I can bring that up here, I will. But this is, that is a common story that does not get told. And that we're wondering, how do you keep people from killing people? Well, obviously depriving them of one means of killing people doesn't do the trick. You can go to Japan where knife attacks kill scores of people. You can go to France where some dudes drove a moving van into I believe it was a marathon crowd or some kind of public gathering in the street, killed 40 people with a truck. And so banning guns simply is not going to fix the problem. And I think that everybody knows it.
Yeah.
The people that don't know it are not paying enough attention and simply flipping on the news, getting the information and going to the kids' soccer game. And, I don't like the low information voter or sheeple trope. I think that, sure, are there people who simply don't pay enough attention? Absolutely. Are there a lot of people who are just trying to live their lives on both sides of the discussion? Yes, there are. And so, But there are anyone who's paying any attention whatsoever knows. Biden knows. AOC knows. Feinstein, if she still is cognitive, she's knows.
Zach, do you think? I'm curious. I mean, just like I agree broadly. Do you think, though, just to push back a little,
great.
The worldview of these people is that people are basically good. Their environment corrupts them, and that's why the emphasis, the salvation is education. The salvation is we just need better schools, we need better teachers, they need a little
better government,
bigger government. You know, they didn't have opportunities like other people did. They didn't have the right medication. They didn't have the right nutrition. You know, they didn't have enough money. You know, whatever. But they blame, rather than having a doctrine of original sin and understanding that we're fallen creatures in need of regeneration, in need of salvation in Christ. What is corrupting is not inside of us, but primarily outside of us. I mean, isn't it possible though that they actually believe that there's certain outside forces that make you more likely to commit evil things, and so there is this sort of their worldview doesn't allow them to see this clearly, and they think, no, look, guns kill people because look, that's what they do, they shoot. Cars are meant to drive, and yes, can they sort of accidentally or analogously be used for evil? Sure, but if we're talking about corrupting influences coming from outside, isn't there a way in which AOC or Biden might honestly believe that guns really are more of the problem than cars or other things?
First of all, Pastor, your question sickates me. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Zach. What were you going to say?
What does it do? What does it do to you?
Oh, it's a great question.
I don't know what that word.
That's a great question, and I would start by saying I believe that the people who are consuming what is said by people in government, what is said by the news, do have that perspective. I think that there are many honest people who are reasoning from exactly that worldview. And that's why it's not hard to accept the idea that's put forward that if we just make guns less available, quote unquote, that will somehow change people's behavior, right? But I do not believe, having worked in Congress, I do not believe that very many of them, we would call them Congress critters, actually believe those things.
Okay.
They believe in power. They believe in getting things done. They believe in building their own legend. They all believe they'll be president someday, et cetera, et cetera. But it is very deeply cynical. That is the reality. And do they have worldviews? Yes. But do they sell those worldviews on a daily basis? Most of them do. AOC has. She didn't at the beginning. AOC was actually somewhat consistent to that worldview. She's not anymore. She does. You watch her. She lashes around wildly and does crazy things that only someone whose head has been turned by opportunities for power actually does. And so, our founding fathers set up a system in which the unvarnished rank self-interest of politicians can be harnessed to the public good, to the public interest through government by the consent of the governed. And so, if we don't like them, we replace them. If we don't like what they're doing, they go away. And that is how it works in America. It still works that way. People get frustrated because, well, I can't replace them. Yeah, but you're not gathering up enough people to get the job done.
Yeah.
And when whatever body, whatever number of people is represented by this office wants a change, they're going to change. Even with the cheating, they usually make a change. A change usually does happen. Mm-hmm. And so the further and further the American people stray from the morality that all the founding fathers talked about again and again and again and again and again, and saying that this government will only work, this Constitution will only work if the people are moral. This only works for moral people. Washington said in his farewell address that morality is one of the pillars that upholds free government. And if the people are not moral, it will not work. It will fall apart. There were people who made the argument, people like Hamilton, who made the argument that you need this illiterati who are, they are ideologically supreme. They are philosophically superior to the people to rule. But Henry laughed at that, right? And most of our founders said, yeah, it's not going to happen. They're going to get corrupted. the safety will be in an American people that replace them. And you can look back, there are all kinds of stories that we don't talk about. We don't talk about the fact that it was a dude plowing his field who reined in Davy Crockett, Congressman Davy Crockett, when he was going to vote for unjust federal spending, stealing from one person to give to another, wealth with redistribution, and even though it looked really good. And this is a dude out plowing his field. He stops to talk to Crockett. Crockett's out campaigning. Campaigning used to look like that, right? You're riding along, you see somebody in their field, you go over talk to them. Yeah. They stop plowing. You stand around and talk around the plow. I think that's super cool. But they're standing around talking and doing this. And he says, Congressman Crockett, I'm not going to vote for you again, even though I voted for you every time. Why? Well, why? And he tells him, because you are now spending federal dollars that you don't have the authority to spend. You're stealing. It's theft. It is theft. And Crockett said, boy, you're right. And he changed. Because this dude, he knew this dude, if he changed his perspective, there would be scores of people potentially would follow. And that was a big deal. And so I think that's where that goes.
The Republic Sentinel.com, RepublicSentinel.com. Can we go backstage for one more question?
Absolutely. Because he didn't finish. You actually interrupted my question of how do we stop shootings, and so we'll talk about that one too.
I want to ask another question backstage as well.
Zach,
you got a couple minutes, Zach, to hang with us?
Absolutely.
We should have asked that first.
If you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. If you have kids, go baptize them. Until tomorrow, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic.
I hope my son is gay.
And I hope that Jesus forgives him just like he does the rest of us.
Doug Wilson, Moscow minister and columnist with the Idahonian Daily News.
The question that confronts us is, what does it mean in a disobedient culture to be prophetic?
There be a place for same-sex couples?
No marriage.
Even though it's the law of the land in the United States?
Just like Roe used to be. We want to turn the world upside down, and you don't turn the world upside down by being nice. I believe that we are in this polytheistic, pluralistic moment, and the desperate need of the hour is for our Christian leadership to say, Jesus is Lord, and there is no other.
Fear no man.
The Word of God is living and active, sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing to the division of soul and of spirit, of joints and marrow. Through the Spirit, God's Word changes lives. It cuts us to the heart and reshapes us. As you strive to read and study Scripture, having a good set of tools can help. From setting reminders for a great reading plan, to word studies and commentaries that shed light on difficult passages, to listening on the go, the Olive Tree Bible app can help you dig into the Word wherever you are. Olive Tree Bible app. Read, study, listen, anywhere.